There was a bright young man, polite, kind, and friendly. He started school at age 5, like everyone else. His journey was a little bit different than his peers. He glided through school, and all was well until that one spelling test. He spelled all the words correctly. Still, the teacher claimed that they were all wrong. With further investigation, it was detected that the boy had indeed spelled all the words correctly, but in the wrong order. He had memorized the order of all the words the way they appeared on the study sheet. The teacher administered the test with random order. This arose suspicion of cheating, but with further investigation by the parents and the teacher, it was determined that this sixth grader was illiterate. He had memorized and faked his way through 6 years of school until his secret was discovered. He was cautious around friends. He stayed quiet and undetected in class. He never voiced opinions. He memorized what he could, and he pretended to be sick on the days that he didn't understand the tests and couldn't memorize things. It took a lot of special classes and intense study and therapy to get this boy to grade level reading, and he is now a grown man. He's literate. Has a family, has a brilliant career. This man is my brother. I want you to look at this and see if you can make any heads or tails of it. Somewhat, right? This is what reading might look like to a person who has dyslexia. 1 in 5 people suffer from some form of dyslexia. I believe knowledge is power. The more we are informed about dyslexia, the more power we are going to have over it. So in preparation for this speech, I did plenty of studying, many hours of studying and research, probably because of the personal interest in my brother as well. But a lot of my information comes from Susan Barton. She is an expert in the field, and she's a renowned, celebrated member of the dyslexic community, so to speak. She is in the Hall of Fame of the Association of Dyslexia. The more knowledge you have about this condition, the more power you'll have to help someone that you might know. Had my parents known about this, my brother probably, guessing maybe, would have had help earlier. So I think knowledge is power. It could be the power that you have with this knowledge. You could help someone that you know, like a child or a classmate or a student, anyone that you may have stewardship over. Because remember, 1 in 5 people suffer from dyslexia. So let's talk a little bit about what dyslexia is. Dyslexia is a neurological condition. According to Susan Barton, it's also inherited. And she says that, and this is a quote, researchers have determined that a gene on the short arm of chromosome number 6 is responsible for dyslexia. That gene is dominant, making dyslexia highly heritable. So not only do we can look at our family histories and maybe get some clues to watching out for symptoms more frequently, or because it's inherited. The scale or spectrum of dyslexia range from mild to severe. The brain neurons fire differently than that of a normal brain. So the normal brain will have the same neuron patterns, and it will continue to have the same patterns over and over again. And a dyslexic brain, the patterns change each time. And that way, since there's a change, you have problems remembering or knowing how to spell. This is why there's problems in spelling and mathematical errors and disruptions in learning math. Sometimes it happens with sound and language. So this explains why sometimes we can't recall spelling. They can't recall spelling words or mathematical laws. So let's talk about some of the cognitive difficulties, and they can include the problems with speech and perception, recognizing basic sounds in language, memory, learning sounds of the alphabet and letters. And like I said, with the spectrum, it can be mild to severe. Same with the symptoms, they can be mild to severe, or even quirky dysfunctions, like a lack of direction. I'm getting lost, not being able to navigate your left from your right very well, confusing that a lot, is one of the symptoms of dyslexia. The Learning Disabilities Association of America inform us that dyslexics often have deficits in phonemic and phonological awareness, which refer to the ability to hear, identify, and manipulate or process the sound of spoken word. Their impaired orthopathic processing, which is recognizing letters with sounds. The symptoms can include illiteracy, lack of direction, rhythm, math difficulties. When we're young, sometimes those, when we're first learning our alphabet and things like that, sometimes those things coincide with each other as we're learning. There's a lot of children who do not have dyslexia and still write their B's backwards. And they do a few quirky things like that that might lead someone to think that they have dyslexic tendencies. Some of that's just a learning curve. But to be aware and to watch those symptoms is what this is all about. And if they continue to have those same symptoms, not be able to remember their nursery rhymes, they're still not getting their alphabet right, they can't remember the order of the words, that sort of things. Some of the misconceptions, excuse me, of dyslexia is that every dyslexic can't read. And that is just simply not true. I happen to be a dyslexic. My symptoms and my plight with dyslexia is my sense of direction, and somewhat my speech. I have a sort of a stutter, and I talk faster than I should sometimes. I have a problem with that, and I try very hard to overcome it. My lack of direction, I just have to thank my lucky stars that I was born in an era where I can have my iPhone with me so I don't get lost anymore. But when I was a teenager, when there was no iPhones, I would get lost a lot because of dyslexia. I have no sense of direction. So they can read. Some can read. There's misconceptions that people think that they're lazy or they just don't put enough effort into studying and enough ambition, and that is simply not true. I think a dyslexic may or may not, but may have the ambition even more, but it gets so frustrating when they can't function properly in regular teaching to be able to learn. So the point of this talk is to have power about dyslexia, to figure out what it is, what it isn't. And now we're coming to the part where we're going to talk about how to get help if you have some concerns. And there's the website, like I said, Susan Barton's website is www.brightideas, and that is an amazing place and has a ton of information about how to get screened. It tells you all the symptoms to look for, how to get screened, where to go for tutoring or for help, either online or in-person classes. There's local community sites as well. I know there's one in my area in Watsonville where there's a local site where you can go in and actually attend live classes for dyslexic people to learn how to deal with their misfire of their neurons, and be able to continue to navigate that so that they can continue to progress and learn. It's a different way of learning, a different way of teaching. So there are specific training. There's a specific training that goes along with that for these teachers that teach these people in the community centers or your community outreach programs in your own area. There is another website called Dyslexic Power Empowerment, and that is also a great place to be directed to find some help. Anyway, so lastly, I would like to say that I think that through this speech, we have learned a few basic things about dyslexia. You got a little feel for it. We learned what it is and what it isn't. We know what the symptoms can and are at sometimes. We know that it's a huge spectrum, so it's very difficult to detect. So you have to really focus in on watching and learning about your person that you're concerned for or yourself. We know that the symptoms include illiteracy, lack of direction, like I talked about, math difficulties, language and sound manipulation, and we know that there are places to be screened and taught. We know that 1 out of 5 people suffer from dyslexia. That's a lot of people. Could this be considered an epidemic? And if so, the one thing I know that can conquer an epidemic or can help conquer an epidemic is knowledge. And that's what I've given you today, just a little bit of knowledge. So I hope you've gleaned a little bit of knowledge about dyslexia to help you go out there and empower someone or help someone that may need your help that is suffering from this condition. Remember, knowledge is power. Thank you.